Well, boys, Season of the Chosen is here, and with it came 24 new legendary weapons that drop with random rolls, not including the reissued Moon/Dreaming City/Trials weapons, along with adept versions of the regular weapons that we'll be talking about, because, well, they're the same as the normal ones, but just the ability to slot adept mods. But you probably already knew that. So in this video, I, Papa myfi, am going to go over each new weapon and its potential god roll. Now, this is not going to be an in-depth look at each weapon, as going in-depth on each would take roughly 10 to 15 minutes per weapon, and I don't think any of you want to be here for 4 hours. I'm going to show you every weapon, its in-depth stats, that means that the stats you can see actually in game, and then the secret stats, its perk pool, and finally tell you the best perks to go with for columns 3 and 4, which, as we all know, are normally the most important columns on a weapon. Now, this video doesn't mean I'm done talking about all these weapons, and I won't be making any further videos on them, as I already have a few videos lined up featuring some of these weapons because they're just so good or interesting that they deserve their own video. This video is just a simple, to-the-point overview of what perks and rolls you should look out for when these weapons drop for you. Now, of course, as we get further into the season and people begin experimenting with different perks, some of these god rolls might change, and if that's the case, then I will update the description, which is where you can find all these weapons, plus their rolls that I recommend, plus timestamps, as this video is being made a few days into the season, and I can't see the future and know what crazy broken roll someone's gonna find. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get into these weapons. So this video and the order of which I talk about these weapons will be grouped by where you can actually acquire these weapons. So for example, all the Gambit weapons here, all the Crucible weapons there, all the Iron Banner weapons here, okay? So the first group is going to be the Gambit group. Here we're going to have 2 weapons. First is going to be the Trinary System, which is an adaptive frame solar fusion rifle. For the column 3 and 4 perks, well, as you can see, there's a lot of them. It's the same with the other Gambit weapon as well. There's about 12 perks, I believe. But the perks that I recommend for column 3, if you're playing PvP, of course, Firmly Planted is always going to have your back. Just the ability to have increased accuracy, stability, and handling while firing when crouched, which is how most people normally fire fusion rifles when they actually are playing PvP. That's going to be huge. And then the column 4 perk, of course, Tap the Trigger as well. That's just insane for PvP. But if you're looking for a PvE roll, then something like Feeding Frenzy in column 3, and then maybe Multi-Kill Clip in column 4. Sadly, this weapon doesn't have Vorpal weapon, which is what I would recommend if you're looking to actually use a fusion rifle within PvE, because a fusion rifle being a special weapon is going to be mainly your go-to when it comes to killing majors and ultras. Now, the next Gambit weapon is going to be the Bottom Dollar. The Bottom Dollar is a 120 RPM Void hand cannon, and this is probably the most popular weapon in the game right now that people are currently trying to chase after, especially all of the PvP players, because 120s are extremely powerful right now, and the perk pool on this thing is insane, just like the previous Gambit weapon. And to be honest, I only see a few different rolls being actual god rolls, that being Rapid Hit in column 3 for the increased stability and reload speed after just rapidly tapping someone's head, and or Rangefinder, which is going to increase this weapon's effective range while at the same time adding zoom magnification. Then the column 4 perks I would recommend would be, and there's a lot of them, you can either go with something like Rampage for a damage boost. You can go with, and this is a new one, High Impact Reserves. Now, the biggest thing about High Impact Reserves is that I don't have a roll yet, and I haven't seen anyone else yet to test this, but if High Impact Reserves is going to allow you to 2-tap with the final few rounds in the magazine, then that's gonna be crazy. This is gonna be the go-to perk if that's the case. But if that's not the case, then like I said, Rampage, or you could even go with something like explosive rounds with, you know, Rangefinder in column 3, or even opening shot for improved accuracy and range on the opening shot of an attack. Now, the next group of weapons is going to be Crucible weapons. Here we are going to have 2 new weapons. First up is going to be the Keening. I think I'm saying that right. This is a 300 RPM arc sidearm. Now for the god roll, and in column 3, I'm going to recommend 2 perks. The first one is going to be Rapid Hit, just for that, you know, traditional reload perk with also some stability. And then Surplus, if you're looking just to really up this gun's stats, Surplus is going to give you an increase to your handling, your reload speed, and your stability with each fully charged ability. And if you pair that with something like Wellspring from column 4, which is essentially just going to refill all of your abilities as you slowly get kills with this weapon, that's going to be huge. Or if you're looking for more of a damage perk to pair with something like Rapid It, you know, your traditional reload perk and your traditional damage perk, then you can't go wrong with something like One for All, which in my opinion is the best damage perk in the game for PvE when it comes to ad clearing weapons, or maybe even multi-kill clip, even though I would recommend One for All over multi-kill clip. Now, the next weapon for Crucible is going to be Frozen Orbit. This is a 72 RPM Void sniper rifle. Now for the god roll, and here for column 3, I'm going to be recommending Moving Target for maybe all of you controller players out there that want a little bit more stickiness with your sniper shots and an increase to your moving speed while ADSing. If Moving Target is not your thing, then you could always go with something like No Distractions, which is just going to reduce flinch for a short period of time after aiming this weapon. Then for column 4, I'm going to have to recommend, of course, the two probably best neutral game perks in the game, that being Quickdraw, just to pull this weapon out unbelievably fast, or even Snapshot Sights, just to ADS unbelievably fast. If not that, then Opening Shot, of course, will be good as well, as this will improve the accuracy and range on the opening shot of an attack. And if you do not know, of course, range is tied to aim assistance. So if that is your thing, then Opening Shot may be your go-to. And then the final perk I'm going to recommend is actually going to be Kill Clip. Now, Kill Clip with a 72 RPM sniper rifle is going to allow you to get a kill, then quickly reload, and then for a short time while you have Kill Clip active, you will be able to one-shot body shot most guardians in the game. Yes, you heard that right. One shot body shot most guardians in the game with Kill Clip. Now on to our next group of weapons. Here we have Iron Banner weapons, and there is going to be 2 weapons in this group. First up is going to be the Time-Worn Spire. This is going to be a 540 RPM kinetic pulse rifle. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that this is actually the only non-sunset 540 RPM pulse rifle. Now for the god roll, and this is what I'm going to recommend for column 3, Feeding Frenzy, just for your traditional reload perk, or Quickdraw, just as a really good neutral game perk. Then for column 4, where I'm going to have to recommend Rampage for PvP, and then for PvE, either Vorpal Weapon or One for All. So Feeding Frenzy, Rampage, or Quickdraw, Rampage for PvP, and then Feeding Frenzy, Vorpal, or Feeding Frenzy, One for All for PvE. Now the next weapon for Iron Banner is going to be the Multimach CCX. I believe I'm saying that right. This is a 900 RPM kinetic SMG. For the god roll, column 1, I'm going to recommend Dynamic Sway Reduction, just for mainly because this thing has terrible recoil. It's a 900 sub, so yes, this thing is going to be kicking like crazy. Or if you want a traditional reload perk, then you could go with something like Threat Detector, which you are going to find in column 3. Then the final perk that I am going to recommend in column 3 is going to be Killing Wind, just for the increase to mobility, weapon range, and handling for a short time after getting a kill. Of course, Killing Wind is not going to be my most recommended, but if you get it, then it's not too bad. Then for column 4, where there is a few different options, the number 1 option I am going to recommend, especially for controller players, is going to be Iron Grip. Iron Grip paired with Dynamic Sway Reduction. This thing probably won't move, and if it does, it's going to move just very slightly. But if stability is not your thing and you want more of a powerhouse, well, you're in luck, because this column is also going to contain Kill Clip, which is, we all know what Kill Clip is, but even better, it has, like I just mentioned a few minutes back, the best damage perk for PvE in the game is going to be One for All. You just hit 3 enemies and spraying into a crowd of thrall, that should be no problem, and you're going to be getting a 35% damage increase for 10 whole seconds. Yes, 10 whole seconds. That's why One for All is the best, especially for ad clearing. Now on to the Trials of Osiris weapons. Now remember, each of these weapons that I'm about to talk about does have an adept version. The adept version and the regular version are the exact same in terms of stats and perk pool. The only difference is that the adept versions look different, and you can also slot adept mods into them. Besides that, completely the same. So our first weapon is going to be the Messenger. The Messenger is a 340 RPM kinetic pulse rifle. Now for this weapon, there really only is one god roll, and that's going to be column 3, Rapid It, and then column 4, get ready for it, you might want to sit down, Desperado. Yes, the Redrix Broadsword, or Claymore, depending on how when you played, pinnacle weapon perk. This is, I believe, the very first time that we have ever seen a pinnacle weapons perk come back like ever. We've never seen a grenade launcher with micro missile except for Mountaintop. We've never seen a machine gun with killing tally except for 21% delirium. And I believe this is the very first time we are ever seeing a pinnacle weapon perk return. Desperado, for any of you all that might not know, is going to make it to where your rate of fire increases after a precision final blow, and when paired up with something like rapid hit, where rapidly hitting precision shots is going to increase your stability and reload speed is going to be huge. You hit the enemy in the head a few times, and then bada boom, bada bing, you're going to be reloading at lightning fast speeds, which is going to get Desperado locked and loaded. This is going to be nasty as soon as we can get our hands on it. I recommend this roll and only this roll. And yes, this is a PvP weapon. I don't really recommend anything for this weapon in PvE. I mean, technically, if you just absolutely want a PvE roll, which I don't recommend, then you could go with something like Rapid Hit, One for All. Both are going to synergize very well together. But no, I think this is a PvP weapon 100% all day, especially with Rapid Hit Desperado, which is the only roll you should go for. Now for our next Trials weapon, and this is going to be the Igneous, I believe I'm saying this right, Hammer. This is a 120 RPM solar hand cannon for the God roll. Column 3, I'm going to be recommending Quickdraw. Great neutral game perk, just allows you to whip it out really fast. Outlaw, just for, get a precision kill and bam, you're reloading at lightning fast speeds. Or Rapid Hit. Rapid Hit, we already know what Rapid Hit is. Precision shots, going to speed up your reload speed and increase your stability. Now for column 4, where you have a few different options, something like Rampage to enable that 2-tap if the opposing Guardian has low enough resilience. If not, then you could go with something like Snapshot. Snapshot Quickdraw is really just going to be the fastest combo in the Wild West, you know what I'm saying? And then potentially moving target for all of you controller players out there that really just want to up that aim assistance and really just want to be constantly hitting shots and moving really fast while ADSing. You really can't go wrong whenever you mix any of these perks together. Of course, I would recommend Rapid Hit Rampage, but that's just because I'm a sucker for reload perks and damage perks. But any of the perks I just mentioned are going to be great. Then our final Trials weapon is going to be, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, Solas's Scar, I believe I'm saying that right. This is going to be a caster frame solar sword. Now, there's really only one God roll for each PvE and PvP. We're first going to start with PvE, where your God roll is going to be Relentless Strike and Vorpal Weapon. Relentless Strike is going to refund sword ammo after every few light attacks, and then Vorpal is, of course, just going to increase your damage against all yellow health bar enemies in the game. Now for PvP, where I would recommend Tireless Blade, which is where every other heavy sword kill is going to grant ammo. And if you don't know, that's how you're going to be using this weapon, because you're going to heavy attack and it's going to fire a massive circle death of circle blade of circle disc. There you go, of death. And it's going to hit and kill most enemies in one shot. And then chain reaction in column 4, in case you fire it into a group of enemies. Maybe they're all standing on B, which is then going to activate chain reaction, and you're going to get a nice little multi-kill. So yes, Relentless Strike and Vorpal in PvE, and then Tireless Blade and chain reaction in PvP. Now you could actually run Vorpal and Tireless for PvP if you want to be taking on supers from a distance with your heavy attack, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now getting on to the Vanguard weapons. Here we are going to find a total of 4 weapons, getting started with Shadow Price. Shadow Price is a 450 RPM arc auto rifle. Now I'm just going to go ahead and be straight up. It's a 450, not really that good for PvP, so I'm going to be giving you a PvE God roll. And luckily for you, there is only one PvE God roll. That is going to be Overflow One for All. Overflow in column 3, One for All in column 4. Overflow is going to overflow this mag beyond belief, and then One for All is going to enable that 35% damage increase that's going to last for 10 seconds after just simply hitting, not even killing, 3 enemies. Yes, Overflow One for All. That's the only roll you should really go with for this weapon. Now our next weapon is going to be the Palindrome. The Palindrome is a 140 RPM void hand cannon. The God roll for this weapon is going to be Overflow in column 3. I just spent probably the last minute talking about how good Overflow was on Shadow Price, and yes, it is good on the Palindrome as well. If not Overflow, then you could go with something like Outlaw just for that traditional fast reload perk, but I would still recommend Overflow, because at that point you just don't even got to reload. Then for column 4, where I'm going to be recommending One for All for PvE, if you actually want to use this weapon for PvE. It is a 140, so it's not as good as 180s in my opinion when it comes to PvE, but for PvE, One for All is definitely going to be your go-to. Now for PvP, where I'm going to be recommending Rampage or Rangefinder. I think a combination of Overflow Rangefinder on this weapon, if you're into 140s for PvP, is going to be huge. It's going to make it very consistent, but if you're looking for that damage perk, then Rampage, you can't go wrong with it. So yes, Overflow is literally the best perk in column 3, followed up by Outlaw, and then One for All for PvE, Rampage for PvP, and then Rangefinder for PvP as well. Now, our next weapon is going to be the Third Axiom. I believe I'm saying that right. This is a 390 RPM arc pulse rifle. Getting into the god roll for column 3, I can't recommend anything else besides Feeding Frenzy. Okay, maybe something like Zen Moment if you're really having a problem with this thing from a distance, but seeing as it is a 390, recoil and stability is already pretty good, and it has a decent, a decent aim assistance, but I would really recommend Feeding Frenzy just to really speed up that reload time. But if you don't want Feeding Frenzy and you're completely content with the reload speed, then maybe something like Zen Moment if you are having a problem with the recoil, maybe even Killing Wind to speed up the mobility, weapon range, and handling for a short time after getting some kills, but I still recommend Feeding Frenzy as being the best. Now, for column 4, where you have a few different options. First up, you have One for All, the best PvE perk in the game. Next up, Multi-Kill Clip, the second best PvE damage perk in the game. Then you got Opening Shot, which is going to be great for all you PvP pulse rifle users that actually want to give this thing a go. Then you also have Vorpal Weapon, and with this weapon being a 390, I could really see Vorpal Weapon being used to shut down supers from afar. You got a behemoth charging at you, full speed. Your hands are shaking, you're a little sweaty, you start cracking them in the head with Vorpal Weapon, you're gonna take them down pretty fast. And then finally, you have Rampage. That's just a given, man. Like, Rampage is just such a classic, you can't go wrong with Rampage. Now on to our next weapon, which is going to be the Swarm. The Swarm is a 360 RPM arc machine gun. Let's get into the god roll for column 3, and here, nothing is good at all, except Outlaw. Outlaw is going to speed up that reload speed, and on a machine gun, having a faster reload speed, or if it had overflow, which it doesn't, not reloading at all, but if you don't have that, then always increasing the reload speed is going to be really, really good, because remember, this weapon is a machine gun. It's going to have a really low reload speed, so anything to speed that up is going to be huge. Plus, Outlaw only requires 1 precision kill to get the full benefits of, and this weapon is going to be putting enemies down in 1 headshot. Most low tier trash adds, that is, and then laying into maybe a major or even an ultra's face with this thing to get Outlaw procced is going to be a piece of cake. Now, for column 4, where you have a few different options. First up, you have, and I've probably already said this 100 times by now, One for All. We all know, I've explained already what it does. One for All, okay? Great for ad clear, and especially with machine gun, where you're not really going to be using it for bosses, mainly for just, ad clear, bunch of low tier trash ads, just mow them down, or maybe taking on some majors or even an ultra here and there. One for All is going to be great. Or you could go with Dragonfly for something like the ultimate ad clearing potential. Dragonfly, you're going to shoot 1 ad in the head, and then the entire group of ads is going to go up in an arc explosion. And then finally, you have Vorpal Weapon. This is, to be honest, I wouldn't recommend Vorpal unless you're playing PvP. If you do want to use this weapon for PvP, which I think this weapon is going to be great for PvP, especially with something like Outlaw, if you do get the chance to have more than 47 rounds, then, you're going to be able to tap someone in the head, take them down pretty fast, and then pop a quick reload. But Vorpal for shutting down supers, I think this is going to be amazing for shutting down supers. It is a slow firing tank. This thing's going to be great for shutting down supers. And if not, then, well, Vorpal could also work in something like PvE for those yellow health bar ads. This weapon is very interesting, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Then our final weapon for the Vanguard is going to be Royal Entry. Royal Entry is a precision frame. That means it tracks by default Void Rocket Launcher. Getting into the god roll for column 3, and here, I'm going to go ahead and say all day Impulse Amplifier. This is going to massively increase your projectile velocity, and it's also going to increase your reload speed, which is huge on a rocket launcher. And rocket launchers, as we all know, just received that 30% damage buff, and this is definitely going to be benefiting from it. Now, some other perks that you could possibly go with, I definitely don't recommend them above Impulse Amplifier, would be something like Field Prep. You're crouching, you're doing damage to a boss, and you're getting super fast reload speeds. That's great. It's also going to increase your ammo reserves, which is, great. That's fine. And then, you could also go with something maybe like auto-loading holster if you shoot off a rocket, put it back in your back pocket, and then you do some damage with like a Salvation Salvo, or maybe even something like an Izanagi's Burden, and then you can pull it back out and it's already reloaded. But I don't recommend any of these except for Impulse Amplifier, which I think is going to be huge. Now for column 4, where you have Chain Reaction, which is really good. I would recommend Chain Reaction if you're using this for maybe some ad clear potential. You know, you shoot one rocket, one enemy explodes, and then they all explode. That'd be great. But what I really recommend is Lasting Impression. Lasting Impression, if you all have not seen any gameplay footage of, is massive. This perk reads: rockets attach on impact and detonate after a delay, increases blast radius and damage. This thing, you shoot it, it sticks. You think, wait, that did no damage. And then it blows up and it does a lot of damage. I really, really recommend Lasting Impression along with Impulse Amplifier. That, in my opinion, is 100% the god roll. And our final group is going to be our seasonal weapons, along with the weapons that we get out of Umbral Engrams. Starting us off, we are going to be taking a look at Extraordinary Rendition. This is a 750 RPM kinetic SMG. For the god roll, I'm going to recommend Overflow in column 3, because Overflow, as we all know, is the best. And then for column 4, where you have a choice of multi-kill clip, which is great, Rampage, which is great, and then Frenzy, which is actually a new perk, which reads: being in combat for an extended time increases damage, handling, and reload for this weapon until you're out of combat. I believe the damage increase is roughly 20%. And if you're wondering, well, what counts as being in combat? Pretty much if you're in the vicinity of like any enemy, then it's going to count as you being in combat and you're going to get these benefits. But the perk I really recommend, you probably all guessed it because it's on your screen right now. You can see it in the bottom right-hand corner, One for All. And we already know what One for All does. 35% damage increase for just shooting, not even killing, just shooting 3 enemies rapidly. And it's going to last you for a full 10 seconds. Now, our next weapon is going to be Imperial Needle. This is a lightweight frame void bow. Bows sadly aren't really in the best position, but I am a bow user myself, so I will give you the god roll that I would go for. In column 3, you have the choice between Archer's Tempo, which is a fantastic bow perk. If you're unsure what it does, it pretty much just decreases your draw time after every precision hit. And then the other perk, which is a new perk, is going to be Impulse Amplifier. You've probably heard me talk about this on the Royal Entry just a few moments ago. And for bows, this is going to massively increase the projectile, or the arrow speed of which it flies at. And it's also going to increase reload speed, or what's also referred to as knocking speed. And then for column 4, I'm going to recommend Opening Shot just for an increased accuracy on the first arrow, or just every arrow if you time it correctly. And then Frenzy, which is going to give you a 20% or around a 20% damage increase, as long as you're within vicinity of any enemy. The next weapon is going to be, and I know I'm going to butcher this word, the Cartesian, I think I'm saying this correctly, Coordinate. Did I just say that correctly? I think I just nailed that. This is going to be a rapid fire frame solar fusion rifle. And I just honestly, with it being a rapid fire frame, I'm just not going to recommend this at all for PvE. So the PvP god roll is going to be Under Pressure, which is going to improve stability and accuracy as the magazine gets lower. And as you all know, you spawn with 2 shots. So your magazine is already going to be low and Under Pressure is already going to be active. And then column 4, I'm going to be recommending Backup Plan. Backup Plan is not as good as it used to be, way back in the good old Arentel days, but it still isn't that bad. And the fact that you're going to be getting a reduced charge time and an increase to handling speed for a short time immediately after swapping to this weapon is still going to be great. Like I said, it's not as good as it used to be, but it's still pretty darn good, especially when paired with Under Pressure. Now, the next weapon is going to be the Eternal Blazin. This is a lightweight frame arc scout rifle. For the god roll, in column 3, I'm going to recommend 3 different perks. Either Full Auto for all you that just like to hold the trigger and let this thing just shoot away, which I know I honestly do. Overflow, because Overflow is the best reload slash magazine slash I wouldn't really say magazine perk because it rolls in column 3. Magazine perks normally roll in column 2, but you know what I'm trying to say. Or Rapid Hit. Rapid Hit is great as well. I'm going to recommend Overflow, but if you get Rapid Hit or Full Auto because you prefer them, then by all means. Now, one thing I will say is that I do not recommend running Overflow with one of the column 4 perks, that being Kill Clip. I do not recommend Overflow and Kill Clip at all because, well, you just won't be getting your Kill Clip like ever. But yeah, now where Overflow does shine is when paired with One for All, or even Full Auto One for All, because Full Auto and One for All would be great. Because One for All, you just need to hit enemies. With Full Auto, you can just hold the trigger down, hit all those enemies all day, and get that 35% damage increase. But yeah, just don't run Overflow Kill Clip, okay? But Rapid Hit Kill Clip, now that's a good one. Overflow One for All, great. Full Auto One for All, Full Auto Kill Clip, great. Just not overflow kill clip. Okay. Now our next weapon is going to be Brass Attack. This is an aggressive burst, meaning it shoots 2 rounds, void sidearm. This sidearm actually has me very excited, which I'll explain in just a second. For the God roll, column 3, I'm going to recommend Feeding Frenzy or Rapid Hit. Then for column 4, I'm going to recommend One For All, Rampage, Dragonfly, or even Frenzy. It has an amazing perk selection when it comes to its column 4 perks. Literally any of them, I don't think you could go wrong with. I think literally if you get any one of these perks, of course, I'm going to recommend One For All because I'm crazy and I love One For All. But you can't go wrong with literally any of them. Now, the reason why this gets me so excited, as we all know, my beloved, or not actually my beloved because that's a sniper, but my beloved, I guess that's also how you pronounce a sniper, but you know what I'm trying to say, Last Hope was sunset this season. Yes, I'm still pretty pissed about it, but this weapon could potentially replace it and might even be better. My only problem with my Last Hope was that it was Arc and not Void, because if it was Void, then I could pair it up with a Devour build with something like Nezarec Sin and it would be God tier, but I couldn't because it was Arc, meaning that I had to use something like a Recluse back when I actually used that build. But this could potentially bring that build back because Brass Attack being Void and having an extremely good perk selection for its column 3 and 4 perks, and it being a 2-round aggressive burst, this could potentially be an amazing sidearm. Look out for a video on this sidearm. Actually, look out for a lot of these weapons that I'm mentioning today for videos on them, but especially this one, because this one, if it pairs really good with that Devour / Nezarec Sin build, then this is going to be crazy good. Now for our next weapon, which is going to be Tarantula. This is a precision frame arc linear fusion rifle. It does sit in the power slot for all you wondering. And to be honest, this thing, it just isn't good. It isn't good. A, linear fusion rifles aren't good, and B, this thing just isn't good, like at all. It doesn't even have good perks on it. So I'm just going to give you a roll if you absolutely want to use this weapon. That's going to be Field Prep in column 3 just for a faster reload while you're crouched and more reserves, and then Box Breathing in column 4 for the ability to ADS, wait a few seconds, and then get that damage increase. But yeah, besides that, it's a linear, man. The next weapon on this list is going to be Threaded Needle. This is a precision frame void linear fusion rifle. Now, like I just said, linear fusions are not good right now at all. Yes, I know. It sucks because I too farmed a Line in the Sand God roll and then never used it. But this weapon is, I mean, it has decent perks. So if, you know, linears ever do see a big buff, then this thing I believe will be somewhat good just on its perk pool alone. Column 3, I'm going to be recommending Clown Cartridge just for the ability to just reload and then get a bunch of extra shots in the mag, or Rapid Hit, which is what I'm really going to recommend because Rapid Hit, especially when laying into a boss's face on this thing, is going to be great. Then for column 4, where I'm going to be recommending Vorpal just for that increased damage to something like a boss or a just any yellow health bar ad in general, like at all, Vorpal's gonna be great. Then Frenzy if you're in a room where you're trying to kill something that is, pretty powerful, pretty bullet spongy. Then Frenzy is gonna come in huge for you because it is gonna give you that 20% damage increase, assuming that the room that you are in, like I said, is filled with ads. The next weapon we have is code Duello. This is a high impact frame solar rocket launcher for the God roll in column 3. I'm going to be recommending the same exact thing that I recommended for the royal entry, and that is going to be Impulse Amplifier, and then maybe Field Prep as a close second, and then autoloading holster. If you get a really good roll, it just has autoloading on it. Like everything else is great, but it has autoloading, okay? But column 4, where we're going to have the same thing as royal entry, which is going to be Chain Reaction for, ad clear, and then Lasting Impression for big damage. My God roll, of course, is Impulse Amplifier and Lasting Impression, just for fast rockets, big damage, and a lot of dead bosses. The second to last weapon on the list is going to be Retrofuturist. This is a lightweight frame void shotgun. If you've used the 7th Seraph CQC, then this shotgun is going to feel very familiar. This is pretty much just its replacement. For the God roll, I have 2. I have a PvE and a PvP. So for the PvE, I'm going to recommend Feeding Frenzy in column 3, and then Trench Barrel in column 4, just for your basic reload perk and your damage perk. Then the PvP God roll is going to be Quickdraw, an amazing neutral game perk, probably one of the most sought after PvP perks on a shotgun. And then for column 4, I'm going to be recommending Snapshot Sights. Once again, another fantastic neutral game perk for PvP. And then our final weapon on the list, yes, weapon number 24, we have Far Future. This is a 90 RPM solar sniper rifle, getting right into the God roll, and I'm only going to be recommending a PvP God roll because, well, it's a 90 RPM, 4 in the mag, doesn't have triple tap, doesn't have Vorpal, none of that, so strictly a PvP sniper in my opinion. For column 3, I'm going to be recommending Quickdraw because, well, Quickdraw, an amazing neutral game perk, or moving target for all of you controller players out there that want a little bit more stickiness to your sniper shots. Then for column 4, there's only one perk I can really recommend, and that's going to be Opening Shot. Opening Shot is going to increase the accuracy of the initial shot of an attack, or just every shot if you know how to time it. And it is also going to improve your range, which, like I've said before, range equals aim assistance. And there are the 24 new random rolled weapons for Destiny 2 Season of the Chosen. If you have any recommendations, please, like actually please, drop them down below. I want that comment section to be filled with God roll recommendations from all of you. Like I said, if the God roll changes for any of these weapons, I will update the description, so please check there if you're watching later in the season. Also, if you haven't joined my community Discord and you like to talk God rolls and best builds, then what are you doing? We have channels for all Destiny 2 related things, stuff for new players, returning players, veteran players, literally any and everything. We got it. Link on screen and in the description. If you are new around here and you enjoy my videos or have ever found them useful, then feel free to subscribe. I'm not going to command or direct you or insist that you subscribe. Only if you enjoy the videos or have ever found them useful, then feel free to, okay? And finally, if you did enjoy this video and you want to see some in-depth reviews on some of these God rolls, then feel free to drop your boy a like, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.